Baby, you know what time it is. It's Studio Johnny Q time. That means it is time to drop your nerd drawers, baby. Oh yeah. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm sure it's sexy.
Sassy indeed. Alright, here we are. Hail and well met, fellow time travelers. Johnny Q here in the Undersea Lab that is Studio Johnny Q. Today is Tuesday, which means that it's Addition Through Distraction Day, which means that we have Randy on the Computron. Randy, are you there with us?
Hello.
Hey, there he is. There he is. There's our friend. All right. How are you doing today, my good man?
Pretty good.
Can you do me a favor, sir, and verify that we are on the YouTubes? And I will verify that we're on the Twitch. We are live on Twitch. Good.
Good.
And let me also get my source of caffeination. Running a little bit behind today. You know, it's like, there used to be, I used to have my cat Moxie, I had for 18 years, Russian Blue, and man, she would get on my lap and start purring. That was like an instant recipe for me to take a nap, right? And I'm finding that my 100-pound German Shepherd, his head is about the same size as, well, she's probably bigger than that cat. So his head in my lap has a very similar sort of effect on me. So let's see here, though. Let's switch to this. We can review our chat topics when you are ready, if you're ready to engage in some conversation, my friend. Is that a yes?
1 second, I'm checking audio levels.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I'm checking all my stray hairs. All right. So one thing I want to do while you're doing that, review of our first 50. We are at 32 of 50, so appreciate that. It's nice to be able to make adjustments to that number and see it growing. Our dirty little secret is that the first 50 are going to be loved just a little bit extra. You're not supposed to have favorites, but you do. So we appreciate everybody that's been joining here in the last few days. And also appreciate everybody that's been joining and participating in the chat. It's been really enjoyable. We can talk about movie night, and we got Rocket League to talk about. The big thing, we got a video that we've been editing. That's actually an old mental health minute. I forgot to update the mental health minute, so we will have to come up with our own mental health minute along the course of today's conversation, hopefully organically and not synthetically, Randy. That's our challenge. And then we've got miles and miles of tiles to work on. That's the craft that we have here. Let me see if I can find a shot here with our M50. Yeah, here we go. Hey, what's up, Mr. Mustard? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, my friend. So we've got this whole thing here of tiles. So we went through, yesterday we removed all the paper. We made sure that we got all of the patterns on the one side. Let's see if we can get a little bit better. And then we even added the wire brush, which will gives us wood texture. On the back side of these, we ended up using a roller and using cobblestone. So these actually had a better indentation than I anticipated, but it still isn't as deep as we would ideally prefer. Especially if you're going to put something like Mod Podge and some other things on it, you know, put layers and layers and layers of stuff on it. So we'll have to have a light hand on probably both the wash and the dry brush. So we got all kinds of tiles to be working on. Small tiles, larger tiles. The only other thing that's kind of note was this one, our oddballs. And we kind of did all the lines by hand. And we used a frozen roller, texture roller on it to give us a little something different. So we've got 4 of those. Everything else though is done pretty much the same. Might need to try to uncurl these. These got curled once we put the roller on them, which is, I guess, science. I don't fully understand why that happens. Do you understand why that happens, Randy? When you roll something, I know, like if you do with like metal, you do put metal. If you're trying to curve it, you can put it through things. And so when I rolled this yesterday, it put a curve on it. Mm-hmm. And I'll try to do the curve on the opposite side. I know that you have there's a lot of problems with that in crafting as well. Like if you paint one side of something, then I guess as that paint dries and starts to pull in, then it starts to curl on one side. When a mommy roller loves a daddy roller, what happens is they get their freak on. Bump, chicka, brown chow. All right. In fact, let me see here if I can just unroll this. The other ones I kind of tried to do some different shapes so that they didn't, if they did curve, they curved at a kind of a different angle instead. And these I think we can kind of just, and again, I threatened to apply light heat if needed to help flatten these out. And this is one of the things with using this instead of using the XPS foam. If I would use the XPS foam, it would be more resistant to said curvature.
Try rolling the other side with the different texture.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try to roll it with a smooth. That's actually what we're gonna be working on right now. And I don't know if you noticed, Randy, our titular moment today is merely about crafts. Like I said, I've been running behind, and I haven't put as much forethought in today's episode as I normally try to do. Anything of interest to you? Anything hopping around in your noggin at the moment? If not, feel free to add some things. One thing I do want to...
It's just a rattling noise today.
Today's just a little rattle. Yeah, it happens like a spray can.
Yep, not unlike that.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
I couldn't sleep last night, so I think I managed maybe half an hour, maybe.
Ouch. That is brutal, my friend.
Some of the Last of Us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and we can't talk about that yet because I'm not far enough in, and it doesn't do us any good to talk about it, I think, on here, because what's going to happen is somebody will spoil something in chat for you. So I'm trying to avoid. That's why it's not on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, and we get to talk about what movie we're watching Wednesday. That's right, because we've got Colonel Mustard on. So, yeah, it's movie week, and Mr. Mustard, if you're ready, I'll have a backup movie if you are not prepared to do so. But, yeah, I think you get to... Mustard gets to pick the movie this week. One of our players had some issues with some family members, and so that's why we're canceling this week. But I've been really pleased that everybody's been interested in trying to do it on a daily basis, and I think this is a good backup plan. Oh, I think it's I think that, you know, it's pretty open as far as the rules for what movie we want, but I mean, I think you just got to know your audience, right? And the medium which we're watching the movies in. So I think that something that's comedy is probably the best. Comedy or something that's really campy or cheesy, you know, something we could just have fun with, like almost like watching like a Riff Tracks or a Mystery Science Theater, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and
so,
I'm like, when I watch a movie, I really like to pay attention to the movie, so I
yeah,
don't like people talking during it. So if it's
yeah,
something that I've seen before, something that is probably from our youth or something that's nostalgia, or
yeah,
something, but you don't have to. You're not seeing it for just
yeah. Like
chat.
I think one of the next ones that I want to do, and Randy, you may have never watched this movie. I don't know. Um, it might have missed you and your generation, but the original Blues Brothers movie. Have you ever seen that?
I have not seen it.
And it's, you know, a lot of it's songs and stuff like that, and it's got a lot of old like soul musicians in it and stuff, and it's just funny. It's just really funny and weird and campy, and but you know, it's something that even if it's your first time to watch it, I think we can talk over it and it'd be okay. But yeah, that is not a bad idea. I agree that something that we've seen before, or that a lot of us have seen before, is not bad. And like I said, I thought you had a real good suggestion with "So I Married an Axe Murder." That one is that one will be high on the list, no matter what. I think.
Yeah, that is a good. It's been a long time.
It's a good one, and it's also enough of us. Like I have made comments that we appreciate it, so it'll be fun. All right. And then, you know, when we're in person, we can do other types of movies where we're actually paying attention to them. Because I agree with you. You know, I like to, when I'm watching a movie, I want to watch the movie. All right. So if we are to get a blank roller, and I actually sell these blanks, but I don't think I have any. I tend to just use the case that they came in. All right, let's see if this. It out, and Randy, sure enough, look. Went from crookeder than my dog's hind leg to perfect flight. The Voyage Home, the one, yeah, go back in time and save the whales. Yeah, that's a fun one. All right, does that work? Let me do that on some of these other ones as well.
So you just got to check the side that you're most concerned about and see if you lost any definition.
Yeah, so, well, yeah, but this is okay. I mean, I did this with wire brush, and I think we're not going to have lost definition from that too much. Gotcha. That is a concern, I agree. But with what we did, how we did this with a ballpoint pen and a wire brush, I think we're going to be still... It might have mushed it a little bit, but we'll be all right. Those are your two suggestions. I would go with Marry an Axe Murder just because we did the star themed one last time, but I'm open to. Randy, are you down with So I Married an Axe Murderer? Sounds like we would have a lot of votes for that. That'd be fun. Hell, I might even be able to get Carrie to show up for that one. And so when I Mod Podge this, I'll probably want to put this on something spiky, bed of nails for it to dry so that I can Mod Podge both sides at the same time to help prevent with possible curvage. I had a really weird set of dreams last night, and man, they're just escaping me though. My mind keeps trying to figure out whatever the problem was that was going on in my dreams. but I can't remember what my dreams is. What my dreams be is driving me nuts. And we've talked about this before. Dreams are they're so amorphous, or that's not the right word. They just shift, right? They're one thing, and then they shift into something else, and they shift to something else. So it's not even like, oh, if I can even think about what place it was I was dreaming, it's going to help me, because that place would have changed probably 12 times over the course of 3 minutes.
Yeah, amorphous is a good word for it.
There are a lot of people. I just remember that. There are a lot of people. So I was wondering if maybe it's something about university, thinking about school or something, but I don't know. All right. Let's take a look and see.
I mean, they can change so quick. It means so many different things at the same time. It's hard to tell.
Let's see here.
The same person you're talking to could actually be 3 different people. And
yeah. You look like my father, but you're actually supposed to represent my boss. But secretly, you're about my 2nd grade teacher. Something like that, I'm like, what? Yeah, I know. I always assume what I'm dreaming about is not what I'm actually dreaming about, right? All right, let me see here. I'm just going to do a quick rollout on these. And thanks for everybody who's hopped in with us today. We appreciate that. Oh, heed, pants, no. I have to make sure I get all the sound effects. I used to have those. That's one of the things that I've temporarily lost. I lost my old music playlists, Randy. I've been curating over the years for our poker nights and game nights. I lost that temporarily, so I'm in the process of recreating. So that's what the Johnny Q jukebox on Friday is. And one of the things that I've temporarily have lost was I lost all my sound files I used to have that in between songs, which are one of my favorite parts. Computer hard drives and moving, and I think I have it just on a. I have 2 SSD drives, and the computer motherboard that I have doesn't seem to want to recognize them both. And so I think I have these on the secondary hard drive, and I thought that they were all backed up to Google, but it didn't back up everything to Google. It only backed up like some of my stuff to Google. But at one time also I had Amazon scan my music library after I had scanned all my CDs. So in theory, it records that I had those, and I can download them. So that's why I say it's kind of an odd scenario.
Gotcha.
And why there's not more fret in my voice when I say I lost all my music. But so yeah, and I know that I also have backup like CDs and DVDs, but I think those are in the office, and they're just happen to be in a place where I can't get to them readily as well. So I just bit the bullet, and it's like, you know what? I started downloading some key albums. So that's we're in the process of rebuilding our. So it's all right. We're in a new location here. Let's go ahead and start to rebuild it. So, and that's one of the fun things is though is that as I've been looking for clips, I was able to get some. I'm getting some TV clips as well. So like I have some Firefly clips and a couple of other TV show clips. So that's kind of fun.
Nice.
There was one that Tater asked about yesterday, and I'm pretty sure it was a Firefly clip between Captain Reynolds and River. Your new place will be better. That's what I'm saying, and it'll be more apropos because it already has songs in it that my old one didn't have, and so. And it's funny because it's like with a playlist. Like my playlist is, let me see right now currently. Turn this down so I don't get a violation of anything. It's 1,583 items, 82.8 hours. Did you pick that up? Randy?
Yeah, it's just a smidge.
Yes. So it's kind of hard when you have that much stuff in your stew to kind of know exactly what it's going to taste like, because every bowl is a little bit different. if you're picking up the analogy there that I'm trying to lay down, and so you have to kind of
like the mystery meat goulash or something.
Yeah, so you kind of have to sample it over several times to kind of really get a feel for what it tastes like. So that's what we've kind of been in the process for. Like, I know that I have.
So not every bite is not homogeneous.
No, no, you will not.
Yeah.
I mean, you've listened to my playlist, so. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I love making playlists, and I've, over the years had been starting with, when we used to have an apartment and, playing poker night, I started making that playlist, and I have a playlist from then that I just kept adding to and adding to and adding to. Kind of reminds me of like what you talked about, Randy, with the baking, right? Where you take a little bit of that yeast from the old loaf and you include it in the new one. But, so yeah, so I love making, and I would do that sometimes. We'd just come home from a hockey game on a Friday or something, and I would just make a playlist on the spot. And so I had a bunch of those, and they all got, they're all missing. I think they're on the hard drive. But so yeah, it'll be fun to make a new playlist. So that's something that we've been working on. So, but and so like I was trying to say, is that back to like the cooking sort of analogy of it, right? It's the problem is it's like it's like, well, all right, I'm gonna put in all of this artist and all of this artist and all of this artist, and it's like, oh well, yeah, or and I didn't do all of it, but like I have probably like 6 Beatles albums, and I probably have 8 They Might Be a Giant albums, and you got a little bit of this and that, and so you're just trying to see, is every 5th song is going to end up being a Beatles song or something like that, and then also the problem that I have. Go ahead.
Running into some problems with that before, where it's like shuffle functions weren't a true shuffle function.
That's
like they would only do like blocks or something.
Yeah, that's one of the problems that I have, and that's one of the things I like about Amazon's playlist. And I think there might be a way to do it with Windows. And maybe once I get done, maybe I'll just switch from not using Windows Media Player. But yeah, it's like the random isn't truly random, because you can't have 1,500 items and then it's like, oh, you just played something that was 5 away from it, and you're way more likely to play something that's like within 20 or 50 songs away from the song you just picked, rather than doing a true random of the number of items that are in this song. So so you'd have it to where it's like, if the list isn't random, then, and that's the case, then sometimes it would get on a thing where it would play like several audio clips in a row, which can actually be fun sometimes, but because they would like juxtapose all of them together, and you're like, what? But yeah, so that's something that we have been working, and that's also why, like, sometimes, like, normally we keep it for the Friday, but I've been trying to listen to it some on my own, and there's some songs like I added the whole album, but there might be one track on that album that I don't want to listen to. I've made an allowance for myself, Randy, and I've made an allowance for myself that I do not have to listen to any song that talks about somebody dying in it. And there's a couple of new albums that I started listening to. One of them is, there's a Watsky album that I really like, and it's called Cardboard Castles. But there's a song in there about somebody who died that was like a childhood friend of theirs or something like that, and it's a song that he like does like right after the funeral or something like that's one of them. And then there's one on the Outkast album that I like so well, and that Outkast album I like so well. It's got those 2 boys in their Cadillacs and all that stuff. Actually, I don't think it's that album. I think it's the SEEKONE, but it's got a song in there about, I think, a girl who killed herself because she didn't want to have her baby, right? And it's a super funky song because it's like heavily based on like
it's a real
Parliament
uplifter.
Yeah, it's like Parliament Funkadelic. So it's like their take on Parliament Funkadelic, which is awesome. I love Outkast's take on Parliament Funkadelic, but I don't want to need to hear about somebody. And then there's like a part where like her mom comes in and finds her, and you just hear her like, "No, Leticia, no, my baby, no." You're like, yeah, you know what? I don't think that's really what I need on a Monday morning. But
My baby's got the sugar.
Yeah, my baby's got no heartbeat. Like, nah, that's okay. I think I'm okay.
It's delightful.
Maybe
Let
there
me,
needs.
let me put that on my playlist right now. That sounds like
Yeah,
something I definitely want to put on the party list.
man, that would be something. That would be funny though, to put together like the most like saddest playlist ever. There's there's a song when I was a kid, because it's like, you know, when I was a kid in the 70s, you know, you had a lot of story songs, right? You don't have so many story songs anymore, so you have a lot more opportunity for, you know, tragedy.
What happened to the ballads?
Yeah.
Ballads. They all died.
But there was, you know, like Wildfire. I think that's about a song about a horse dying. And there was a song when I was a kid that my immediate neighbor had, and I can remember listening to it on LP or 45, one or the other, but it was on wax. And we put a needle on wax, mofo, to hear this. And I was young. I mean, I probably was before the age of 5. And it's a song called Run, Joey, Run. And it's about a guy and a girl, and they love each other. And her dad shoots him, but misses him and hits her and kills her instead. And she may be pregnant with his baby or not. I can't remember that part. And so that's a little lovely song called Run, Joey, Run. But yeah, you have all those lovely tales. You could put a whole album
Like
that
Coca Cabana, where it's just like, oh yeah, it's a song. Yeah, we're alright. Yeah, it's like.
My name is
party
Tony.
music. Oh wait,
This is
no,
Showgirl.
About, yeah. This isn't good.
Yeah, there's a gunfight in that song, isn't there? At the end, I think there's a gunfight. And
Pretty much.
when I was a kid, when I was a children, I always had weird taste in music. I was in like the 6th grade, and I was in love with the song "Big Bad Leroy Brown" by Jim Croce. Are you familiar with that song?
What is it again?
Big Bad Leroy Brown. Bad Leroy Brown, baddest man in the whole damn town, meaner than the whole King Kong.
Had that on your playlist.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably not. I don't think so, because it's a little too emotionally touching to me. But in the song, it's about how it's also, he has several songs that are about this, about men who are like the baddest man around, because there's also a song by Jim Croce that you don't mess around with Jim. Like you don't step on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind, something, and you don't mess around with Slim. And you know, it's just these kind of like local badasses sort of songs about local badasses. But what's funny is that in both of these songs, you know, like Big Bad Leroy Brown, he gets his comeuppance at the end. He's not as big or bad. And the same thing with Slim. Slim gets replaced with somebody else at the end of the song. I think instead of Slim, it becomes Jim, or instead of Jim, it becomes Slim. But anyways, in this Jim Croce song that, you know, I loved when I was a 6-year-old, it's about they get into a bar fight, probably over pool or something. So, you know, that's what you should be listening to when you're 6, is, right? You know, these songs about people having bar fights over pool games. And he says that he pulls out a knife and he cuts him up like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, that's a standard nursery rhyme, I believe.
Yeah. If you're talking about the original like German versions.
I think I had you know, the mobiles that hang above the crib. I'm pretty sure that's what mine played.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Bad Leroy Brown, baddest man in the whole damn town. Yeah, and it was like, and then when I was like 8 to 10, I matured into wanting to listen to songs that was like about midlife crisis. So like I fell in love with listening to Carly Simon, singing songs about, the woes of married life and the depressions of a middle-aged woman. Because, right? That's what every 10-year-old boy's into, right? Did I lose you?
That was good stuff.
Oh, yeah. It was funny. I was in I found it funny. I hate when people say that. You're gonna find this funny. It's like, why don't you just tell me the story and I'll decide if it's funny.
No, I mean that's definitely funny.
No, but I was at I was getting gas one night, right? And it's playing that music, and you never know what music you're gonna hit. You could hear something that's like, ski, or you're gonna hear something from like the the 50s or the 60s, and and it was playing a Carly Simon song that I hadn't heard in forever, and it was just so sad. It's just, and I think it's it might be that song about getting married. And it's just so sad and dark, and how she's walking to her bedroom, and she walks past her dad's office, and she walks past her mom's, and it has the things that says that their children hate them for the things they're not, but they hate themselves for what they are. That's powerful, man. That is some powerful stuff right there.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so yeah, that's the stuff I like to listen to when I was 10. I don't know.
That explains so much.
It might. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. So, anyways, I do have a special love for. No, I need you to know that it's funny. You're not going to change my mind, says Mr. Mustard. We're not going to equivocate about this. Computer, define equivocate.
The verb equivocate is usually defined as to use ambiguous or unclear expressions, usually to avoid commitment or in order to mislead, prevaricate, or hedge.
Prevaricate. That's a word you don't hear as often as you'd like, huh, Randy?
Yep.
Prevaricate.
Be used more often.
Yes. I don't mean to equivocate, or do I mean to prevaricate? All right, I'm done for the week. I think I've exhausted all my big words. My big word quota. All right, so the next thing we get to do here is we need to pull out a tub and start to think about some Mod Podge on these bad boys, because I think these are about as flat as I'm invested in getting them. Although, they're not very flat. Randy, let me ask you about the soundness of an idea such as this. If I was to take this and I put what Mustard assures me is called a 1, 2, 3 block, and I put that on there and I applied a heat gun on it, gently, oh so gently, to help straighten this out. How bad of an idea do you think that is? On a scale of 1 to 10.
It may not work totally. Like you still have like if there's a what's called material.
One good thing is
it may want to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm with you, right? I think what you're saying is you're uncertain, right? It could go one way, it could go the other. So I think in the name of science, we have to try. Is what I'm getting. I'm going to get at. So let me pull out the gun. Pull out our gun and let's see what we can do here.
Oh, if you use the gun, I thought you were. I got you. The part where you're talking about. You just got to be really careful with that.
Yeah, the good thing is that with this gun, I really do like this gun. You can put just like low heat on something, right? So you really do have a lot of options on it. So I'm not afraid. If I melt it, it's just because I'm impatient. Which, I mean,
I wonder maybe like
could happen.
Gentler, like a little. You could make like a little.
Like a little what?
A little box that you put it in, filled with something.
That's funny. That's what
gentle.
That's what Adam Savage used to do. He said an old trick, an old painting trick, is you get like a box, you put your model that you painted in it, and you put a hairdryer point it into the box. And it does that. So yeah. Again, like I can put this like right up to my hand. No, I can put this right up to my hand and it doesn't hurt. So there's a lot of adjustment on this gun here on the back. I mean, this is the hottest here, and this is the coolest. So it's got a wide range of temperature. So let's just, yeah. And it's got 2 blower settings. The thought that I have here is maybe I'm not going to be able to hear you very well. So hold on a second. I was just thinking that what made me think about this is that there's that trick that like if you have like a bent sword, a sword which is bent, like a Reaper's Bones one, that you could apply just a little bit of heat to go uncurl.
Yeah, but the area that you're actually heating, like think about the surface area.
It's just the edges.
Yeah, when you're putting the edges where what's really causing the bend is the contraction where the larger surface.
Yeah, I agree. So it's like almost like I need to kind of apply heat to, like here. I need to apply heat everywhere and then. And it almost seems like, well.
Try you'd have to be careful, obviously, have it on a low setting, and try a steam iron in between, like put the material in between the cloth.
I need to put some more heat on it. This almost seemed like it works. Almost. Let's see here. Do I have a stand for this? My stand must have. Yeah, a little bit better.
What's your end goal for these?
My end goal for.
What are you going to use them?
These are floor tiles, so I mean, just wood tiles. But that actually did. So if I apply heat on it and then just stamp it for a couple seconds. These small ones in particular just are, if I set a bunch of them up, they're going to be kind of wonky edged if I don't. So just going to try to do this on these 4 here real quick, and then we'll move along. All right. Did that answer your question, Randy? I'm not sure that I did. No, hold on a second. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Randy. I can hear you now.
The delay audio. Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't even remember what I said at this point. It was like, so Randy, what's your opinion? Hold on.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, okay.
I'm really interested in it. I'm interested in hearing it after it's irrelevant. All right, I'm going to do these last 2, so I won't be able to hear you for just a second. Then we'll.
Okay.
I know it's doing something because I can smell the plastic.
Ooh.
Oh, we lost our. M50 here. Let me 1 second. Oh, hi. That's more than you need. Ain't nobody needs that. Ain't nobody needing to see that all up and close. Unless you're checking for mites. So that's better. So yeah, they weren't horrible. This one could use some more. Let's see if this one is. That's good enough. Alright. That should be good for that. So, I have a little tray over here. And we will be using some Mod Podge, which means that I'm going to want some gloves. Yeah. You know, I want to share something about a positive human experience that I had. Our neighbor was on vacation and came back, and he was mowing his grass, and he was doing his trimming, and he did my trimming as well, along the creek and everything. Really nice. A random act of niceness, and I wanted to take a moment to celebrate that. Yay, humans. All right. So I think if we move this and move this. So Randy, you getting close here to getting ready to review your D&D character?
Hopefully.
Let me ask you this question: when we played you before, you played a sorcerer, correct? 5e,
yes,
5e sorcerer. You were Dragonborn. The sorcerers, their main stat is charisma, right? That's your main stat. Was charisma?
Yep.
Do you think that you want to play a sorcerer again, or do you want to try a different magic class? I know you want to be a magic user, but
yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Because I think that's kind of
would be. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of going to decide. You know, you're going to kind of need to provide that information.
So that's why I was wanting to hear you recount your story of who these individuals are and what their story arc is.
Yeah. Is it all right if I take a moment and discuss that now? So
yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, let's see here. I'm going to try to turn you up so I can hear you a little bit better.
So
no, that's
just to
good.
give me a better idea of perhaps what he should be.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. That sounds good. Yeah, let me grab a beverage. Let's see what time we got here. Yep. I got to take a quick potty, actually. I'll throw the be right back up sign and be back here in about 90 seconds. Does that work for you?
Okay.
Okay. We'll be right back. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back in 90 seconds. You can count us. I am back. Randy, are you still with us?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you good. So just as a little bit of background in anybody that's listening, Randy was part of the first group that I ever DM'd, and it was essentially acting within the same campaign setting, I guess would be the way to describe it. But they were approaching it from two different ways. So when I first started DMing, we already had an existing group going on. And let me put this into a place where it's conducive. Hold on 1 second. Let me see here. There we go. And so we had an existing group that was going on, and the DM offered to let me to do some part-time DMing. So we were trying to figure out a way to make it work that we could keep our existing characters and kind of play within two different sessions. And so we had done it. We were making that work to the best that you can. There's pros and cons to it. But because of that, it was basically when you guys were playing in my game, you were playing in a dream realm, and the items that you got in the dream realm could only be used in the dream realm, and that way it kind of kept your inventory separate. But then that started to become confusing. But via the dream realm, you guys entered the realm, which is the campaign setting that the current group is playing in. And the basic premise of this campaign setting is that you have and I can pull up the map here. Just the other day, 1 second. There it is. Alright. So this whole region is known as the Sunken King. Provincia is the name of the mother continent, the main continent. And then there's this area down here at the bottom, which is like a penal colony continent. And this is at the place where they had banned all the magic users. So the people that run everything is the Supernal Regency, and their three main cities are indicated in purple. Their symbol is the three-headed dog, and their cities are named after the three different dogs. And the dog's head symbol, the shepherd, the pinscher, and the mastiff. And so this is the Supernal Regency, and they were happy for a long time to just banish magic people down to the continent down below. But then here recently, over the last, say, decade, there is known what is the Great Magicide, where they're trying to actually exterminate magic users. So they've taken a very different approach to how they handle magic users recently. So what we have is that, say, 10 years ago from our current party scenario, there was a group of people who lived down on the continent known as the Bragili, and they knew that they were going to that the Supernal Regency was targeting them, trying to extinguish them as part of the Great Magicide. And what happened was that they ended up wanting to try to preserve magic, so they took 10 children, each one who represented a core fundamental element of magic, and they spread them out from the world that you see here on this map. And so from different places, these 10 children were placed as very young, baby, say, or maybe years like 1 to 2. Now, at a certain time, and that time is now, they're being drawn back to their homeland, the home tree. And mainly this is happening is that they're starting to have common dreams that deal with one of their kin named Reyna. And Reyna, her domain of magic is the mind, and so she's actually able to kind of, through her magic, is kind of acting as a beacon to all of her kin who are kind of seem to be making their way back. And so when you were playing, and you're still with me, Randy? You still with me, Shads? No, I might have lost my headset. let me double check. No, okay. Check Discord. Let's see here. All right. We didn't hear Shadows, so I got to check in every once in a while. His Discord gets a little funky on us, so. You back with us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, brother. Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, so I just check in every once in a while because I know sometimes your Discord gets wonky, and it seems like that's what happened. So if you said anything, I didn't hear you.
It looks like I'm having some with the Twitch to be shoddy today.
Gotcha. So the one distinction that I wanted to make, though, was that so the way that you were playing in this campaign setting was that you and the other party members were brought in and you guys were helping to rescue the 10 children and unify them back at the home tree, right? But with this, especially since, you know, I was able to just along the way pick up these wardling. Let me see here. These wardlings and this down. I can see what the hell. Yeah. That are these children and they have these pets, right? And it was just like, you know, a more engaging way to tell the story is to actually have the characters be the children rather than you rescuing children that you may or may not care about. You know, if you are the children, it makes you instantly more invested in what's going on. So that's what's happening now. These are the remaining children because they've come across this thing they call the 10-petal flower. And the 10-petal flower is a representative of them, the 10 essence of magic and the spheres of magic, which represent the 10 spheres are earth, wind, water, and fire. They are mind, body, and soul. And they are animal. They are plant. And they are gemstone. And those are the 10 essences of magic. So, right now, I believe it's animal, vegetable, and gemstone are the three that are in play, and then the newest one, Nicholas, he represents the realm of his realm of magic is the body. So, I think that's probably it in a nutshell. Any questions based on?
So animal, vegetable, and mineral and body
are already taken.
Okay. And which one is Reyna?
Reyna, she represents the mind.
Okay,
so the mind is taken as well.
Gotcha. Okay. And so were these children aware of their connection and any of this before they suddenly started to become drawn back to the tree?
None of the people that they've encountered up this part have. That could be, you know, I try not to overly define the background, right, of the players. But at this point, everybody has kind of been unaware of it. And so they're kind of just getting their knowledge on once they meet Reyna. But it would be possible, I suppose, for somebody to have, you know, one of the other children to kind of had more of a knowledge about it.
Okay, so you don't have any hard set thing about like they were taken as babies, so they don't have any memories of what happened before, where they ended up. Or,
no,
whether anybody told them that you're adopted or.
I know some things about some of that the players don't. Mm-hmm. So. I know what the Brazili did when they let the children go, so I have a little bit of information regarding that. But largely, the children's backstories, you know, I'm not concerned about, and that's what we're doing is with the racial things. Is we're basically saying you're not a dwarf or you're not a gnome, but you have that blood in you, and it's giving you these abilities. So that's how we're handling race. since all the characters are largely human, human, not humanoid.
Yeah, they got some ancestral ties.
Yeah,
Somewhere along the way.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like with this penal colony, kind of thing. It's like it's a melting pot. It was a melting pot, and the Brigili in particular were very much a melting pot. That's something that their culture endorsed. The more the merrier. You know what I'm saying? Huh? They mixed business with leather. Mm.
Oh my.
All right, it's time to get our paint on. Let me see here. This is a brush which previously had been used. Just need something that's going to get in the nooks and the crayons. All right. Yeah, and then previously. Go ahead.
So Soul has not been taken, right? Soul is still open.
Soul is still open, yeah.
It'd be funny if the person who ended up being Soul was a bard who was very soulful in their singing. Did like jazz.
I like that. That's a very fun idea. I don't know if any of the kids have an instrument in their hand right off the bat, but I mean that doesn't stop us from doing anything. But yeah, and I've never really gotten to play with a bard. It would be fun. Soul, they did it through. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. It's fun. That's what's fun about playing with people. It's like and our philosophy that we're trying to do now is you're just trying to seed the environments rather than trying to create a series of events that players have to go ABC, right? You create a sandbox and some objectives, and you seed the environment, and it's like half the time it's like, I don't know how they're going to solve this. Maybe they won't. And that's way better than keeps you from railroading the players in your sandbox, I think. I know better than this. I need to, let's see, I gotta move this. Dungeon Meowster. Dungeon Meowster.
Then you get whoever's Earth is like Pigpen. And he's got the cloud of dust around.
That is awesome. I love that.
And whoever's Wind is just,
farty,
constantly breaking.
Passing gas.
They're very windy.
They always have beans with them. Hold on! Fueling up! I'm fueling up, boss! Okay. So, we have to... Because this thing...
They get into duets with the bard. Soulful bard.
Well, yeah, you were the one that sent me the thing of the guy who had a fart, and it was like, oh, this is the B major arpeggio. This is the greatest fart I've ever done. And here, I can make
it was so much better I saw that as part of another video where they were doing like a contest, and not really a contest, but they had their producer who had never been in one of their videos before, even though that she's been working with them for 10 years. So this was her first appearance.
Was in the fart video?
The one who... What?
Her first appearance was the fart video?
She's the one who chose it. She chose it. So that was awesome. It was a selection of memes. It was a try not to laugh challenge.
Oh, okay.
So he was the one who selected them. But the first half of her life, whatever, she was a professional classical musician. So she found these to be very hilarious.
That's funny.
She's like, I won't be mad at you if you don't laugh at the rest of them. I'll take offense. But she was able to explain, like, in depth why, like, the technical reasons why these things were funny and stuff like that.
That's funny. That's cool.
They were all classical music based. And the last one was the remember what it was, major seventh arpeggio with a but it was somebody farting, and they slowed it down, and then played other music that exemplified that. And they're like,
once they isolated each of the notes of the fart, and they put it through a synthesizer and played something with it, and it was just using the fart noises from that one single fart.
It was quite melodic.
And that was the thing. It's like you could take a sound of a fart and you could make it, just sample it and then make it be all the different notes, but that's not what happened. This person had a fart and went, and it just sounded like a fart, but
And then
once
just
they broke it down, it's like you can hear this perfectly hits all of these 5 notes in this arpeggio, and then they took it and without modifying it, just used those isolated notes from the single fart to play song.
Yeah, and he had a bunch of punny jokes about it at the end. It was his.
Oh yeah, it was his masterpiece, but he kept saying it was all poo jokes. His.
Yeah. It was like his opus, but it was.
Yeah, it was his anus.
Not quite, but I mean, he
pretty close.
Weaved it in really well. He weaved it in really well.
Yeah, there was a lot of. It wasn't subtle. All right.
But it fit.
Yeah, no, it did. It was funny. So here we go with Mod Podge time.
Okay, so what I'm getting from you is that they don't really have any, other than they are these children, and they're being drawn back to the home tree. Yeah,
they were all having these same dreams about Reyna, and that caused these 3 kids who were separate to become joined, and then later on, Nicholas also, kind of through the same process, has joined them. But so you're talking about backgrounds, and Nicholas before this, my understanding is that he didn't know that he was adopted, and I think he's just now becoming familiar with that information because he heavily identifies as being a 3 tree, which is his what I guess would be probably his adopted father's name. So
right.
So yeah, there's a lot of.
Okay. So that's just so it's totally open. You haven't set anything that they have to adhere to in any way. Background behavior.
No, that's totally
Okay.
open. Yep.
You're on.
Yeah, and then it's with Dart in particular, she didn't even know what her name was, to start off with, and she kind of doesn't have a real defined background, whereas...
Didn't she say due to something traumatic or something, she's just kind of in a fugue state or something?
I mean, I said that she's in a fugue state, but yeah, because she kind of said, for her, the past is the past, and she's just focused on the future, and so, yeah, it seems like, she definitely could have something traumatic that she's hiding, or something suppressing something, or, there's all kinds of... But yeah, so she, just didn't... Whereas... Furion, he had a real elaborate backstory, which is funny because it's he's telling me about all this stuff about all these people, and so it's interesting to me because it's so you think you're this, but you're not this, because I know that, because, and you kind of know it now as well. But so these other magic group, somehow he must have fallen in with this other magic group that adopted him. So it's kind of interesting. It's like the story writing itself.
So for wind, it would be cool if they could whisper the wind. Have you heard whistling the wind?
Oh, that's cool.
Old, let's say it's kind of like old folk magic of belief that you could
You could talk on the wind and somebody else far away could hear you.
There's that kind of thing, yeah. Different kind of spells along those lines, where whispering in the wind or a blowing wind, where you have a little bit of wind control in a way, you can cause some gusts, or you could perhaps whisper in somebody's ear, or have it travel on have your voice travel on.
Wouldn't that be awesome? That's what I want to see Storm do, right? Have Storm whisper in somebody's ear, and she causes it to be a tornado in their ear. Could you imagine? That would rip you apart. The pain that would be. Holy crap. That would be savage. That's interesting. Interesting.
And then water, they could do.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I don't have necessarily anything that these people can or can't do based on, their realm of magic. And all the other thing is just, that's unique about this is that, because of the wardlings, and just because I think having pets are cool, all the players have what we call a daemon. That's basically like his dark materials or golden compass. Whereas that they have these magical manifestations. So these pets aren't actually animals; they're magical manifestations. So that's the other key element. Sounds like Randy's dropping and coming back. You with us?
There we go.
There we
Can you hear
are.
me?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
Okay.
So I was just pointing out that.
Either of that time.
Yeah, I was just pointing out that the daemons,
What-
the pets and the daemons are the other kind of interesting, unique thing from our campaign.
Did you hear what I said about water?
No.
Water.
What did you say
I
about
was
water?
saying that they could do little things as well, like make people's hands, make their palms really sweaty, so they end up dropping their weapons.
That's cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, when you think about kind of like how Magneto, the way that they use his power, right? I mean, he can make people float and do all kinds of stuff because it's like, well, you have iron in your blood, You're like, okay. Well. Yeah, I mean, a person that's water, the human body is mostly made up of water, right? So, in
Plus,
theory,
I mean, he could have done so much more than he did. What that parts that I've seen, like in the cartoons and movies, where he could have hypothetically, he could have excited the particles, so he could have cooked somebody alive from inside by.
yeah. Although they did in the one movie, he had to get injected with metal in his body. The iron in his blood was not enough. I remember now, she actually injected him with a metal, and so that put enough metal in his body that he could start to do some stuff like that. But I think his ability to fly is because of gravitational, metal qualities. That's how he flies, is by pushing himself against the metal and the earth or something like that. That kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Because at first it's like, well, you got magnetism abilities. Why can you fly? It's like, oh, okay. Magnetic Earth core. Like, okay. You sold me. I'm down. All right. What time is it, Randy?
It is 1:10.
1:10. Okay,
You have
cool.
your mental.
I have not come up with my mental health minute. Although the one that is most readily coming to mind is, we've talked about this before, but that doesn't prevent us from talking about it continually. Is that to remember that when you're in a fit, if you've fallen on some black days, to remember that it's temporary. And I'm always struck by the fact of how quickly I forget that myself when I'm falling on black days. That it's like you feel like you've broken yourself, and that nothing will ever be right. As Ron says, felt like I'd never be cheerful again. When he meets a Dementor.
Yeah, it's hard to remember that stuff in the moment.
In the moment, yeah.
When you're really feeling it.
Yeah, and I was just like, this last funk that I went through, I just was struck by how it's just like, I know this is temporary. I know this will pass. But that's not the way that my body wants to react to it right now. It wants to feel like this is just the way that things are.
I think that's just another part of practicing. Something you got to practice and kind of get it into your muscle memory in a way of just repeat. This too shall pass is a good adage. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
And if you can get that to the point where it's just a quick ingrained response, practice that and build upon it. Should hopefully help you in situations to be able to do that better. It actually would be more difficult for you to.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's something that you can do, that you can reflexively, right? As a reflexively fall back upon to help remind you that this is a temporary scenario. I think anything like that is pretty good advice. So I think that's all I had for the mental health minute. And just, as we've been talking about, during the zombie apocalypse here, that things about getting out, and how we've I guess the point is we've been trying to talk a little bit about some of the mental challenges during this current COVID crisis, right? And I guess the thing is like, I don't follow this very closely, but it does seem like we're going to be, or we are in kind of phase 2 here now, right, of this. And I've noticed like some of the headlines sounds like some of the states want to close bars because of the outbreaks here in phase 2 that they're seeing, and some things like that. So just I know that I wanted to let down, right? We're just so tired of all of this, right? We want it to be over, that we're just ready to be, I think, mentally like, okay, we're done. All right, let's move on. But we're not out of this yet, I don't think. And so just be vigilant. And
That's what the numbers are showing. It's still a thing. We're still in the first wave.
yeah,
Haven't even had a second wave yet.
yeah. So just gird your loins, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Gird your loins. We're not through this. We still got to do some of the hard work, but I think that's
It's easy to slack off on making sure you're doing what you're doing to protect yourself and others from the virus. Yeah, you do get kind of stir crazy. So trying to find ways to alleviate that and adjust to a sort of a new normal.
Yeah,
Make it into a positive. Find ways to make it into a positive.
it's fun. I like that idea. Yeah. Alrighty. Here. So.
Sure, just find something that you find fun. If you can't do something, normally you do fun stuff with people, find a different way to do it.
Yeah, like playing Rocket League with your friends over the internet.
Rocket League, yeah, exactly. That's a good one because there is an element of it where it can be a competitive game. So if you are, you could choose to take it to such a point where you would just get pissed off and rage quit and all that. So that's the negative side. You don't want to go for that. There's a whole other part to it where you can just have fun losing. Even if you're losing, you can still just have so much fun. So
yeah, you can. Especially if you have some good teammates and you're all just yucking it up, and you're getting beat by people, you just make fun of their names internally. You're not poking fun at anybody, not trolling anybody or anything, but you have lots of opportunities.
Colonel Mustard said, "So I can't stay in my room all day and play with myself."
Well,
if that does it for you, buddy, then hey.
Yeah, you can.
You go ahead and stay in your room and play with your little brother.
I'm not
just
one.
Watch out for chafing.
Take your necessary precautionary measures. Chafage is real. I'm just trying to work some of this Mod Podge in. But yeah, it's been a blast playing Rocket League. I was really pleased that we got ranked into the low rung of silver. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That
means that we passed where we placed. We passed the first 3 rungs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those would have been bronze 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
And then
correct.
we placed in actually silver 3. So 5 the 5 bottom levels we skipped up.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds correct. I'm not. I know Mustard is a lot better on the divisions. So it sounded like he was saying that there's 5 divisions within the 3 rungs of a medal. So within bronze you have 1, 2, 3. 1 is the lowest, I believe, and yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what.
And then you have 5 divisions. So this is what's not good.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of it backwards.
So that's where it's like I'm
Maybe
trying
we're
to.
actually
I'm not
in
so. Yeah. But it sounded like he was saying that we weren't in the bottom of the. That it sounded like the way he was describing it was that we had skipped a couple of the divisions, so we're somewhere in the middle of the third, the lowest rung of silver. That we're somewhere in the middle of that. And when he and I originally placed, that was like where we originally placed as a 2-on-2 as well. And then the first couple of matches that we started to play after that, we started to lose. But I think by the end of the night when we finished kind of where we started. So we were actually able to finish at the bottom of silver again. So, but what I like, and I'll be curious to see, especially as you play more and more, it's kind of hard because those matches we were playing a little bit of everybody. So we were playing a wider range. But it seems to me that after playing a couple more of those matches with Mustard, that I actually liked it better than playing random games because people seem to be a lot more keyed into your level of play, your skill level, rather than I find when you do just the casual games, you're getting a much wider range of people that you're playing against. And the people's focus level is very different.
During casual games, does it not try to...
It does. It does.
It just doesn't.
I think it's a wider tolerance potentially, but I don't claim to know this. You can do your own fact finding, but my yeah, it does. I know it does do because it'll say like if it's taking a long time to match you up, it'll say that it's like widening the search criteria. So I know that it is using some criteria, but and that
You're welcome, Colonel. You're welcome. Anytime, buddy. Yeah, make sure you hydrate too.
Hydrate, yeah. You got to replace those fluids that you're expelling. You know, we're inclusive here. Don't hate, masturbate, right?
Make the world a better place by loving one person at a time, starting with yourself.
Starting with yourself, very intensely. Love yourself in the biblical fashion. That is not biblical love.
Well, it is in the Bible, so I guess technically.
Well, knowledge is what you're saying. Knowing somebody in the biblical sense. Which is funny because this, that was the sin of knowledge, right? That's the tree. So it all goes back to that. So knowing isn't about knowing. It's about coming into terms with your sexual desire. And so that is the original sin, is just knowing that you are... Oh, I just lost my headset. Let me... see, we're at 121 here. All right. I don't know how I can do this with my headset being discombobulated. Let me... Randy, I just know that I can't hear you right now. Let me...
I'm not talking.
move to the computer, but take off my gloves and... All right. So let's just go ahead and throw all this away. I forgot to... I plugged in my headsets last night after we played Rocket League, but they weren't plugged in. My charge cable wasn't plugged in, so they didn't end up charging. So I didn't get a full charge this morning on them. Alright, so... we do this. See if I can switch to a manual headset here just so I can talk in here. And let me change our camera angle. I'll switch my microphone. All right, Randy, can you try talking to me? Ground control to Major Tom.
Can you hear me, buddy?
I can hear you now. Yep, I can.
Cool.
Let me switch my headset here. I think that's backwards, but it won't matter for these purposes. So yeah, so I use these wired headsets.
Your Twitch audio is soft.
Let me I'll sit a little closer here to the. Oh, you know what? That's because
I've got my.
Yeah, I gotta switch my mic. There we go. Testing, testing, testing. Why are you not showing me anything? Why are you? Okay, there you are. Yep, okay. That should all be good. And then that should be good there. So yeah, so I've been using these wired headsets and I have this Bluetooth adapter that beams it out. So this is just basically plugged into the headphone jack of my PC, and then it'll beam out to the headset. So I plugged in the headset to charge it last night after playing, but the cable wasn't actually plugged into a USB port, so it didn't do any charging. So that's why these headsets are dead. And I don't really have anything else to use to where I can actually work from the station and talk at the same time. So I think we may have to, we might bring this to a close, but we can try something with our remaining time, Randy. You know, it's like college. We're going to get a little experimental. You know what I'm saying?
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
There you go. Thank you. And I was just going to keep doing that until you said something. Turning into what's his face from Jurassic Park. Let's see here. I had this happen.
Jeffrey Goldblum.
Yeah, Jeffrey Goldblum.
Oh no.
Carrie hates when I do that. She's like, no, nope. There's that thing. It's like an hour of him where they just loop him doing that for like an hour. But yes. Usually I get two before I get hit. So the second one usually gets me hit. But I had this happen the other day when we were listening to some tunes. So I might see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hear you though. Is going to be the problem. But we could try it to see and see how much echo we get. But I think that if I'm going to hear you, I just don't think it's going to work. So maybe it's best not to do that on a live scenario. Maybe test that. Sorry, I'm just talking in circles here.
You're fine.
But yeah, so maybe we will. Today's session might just be a 90-minute session, but I am going to continue on, and we will just take the YouTube down, and yeah, we can give it a try, right, and see if it's gonna cause us any spot of bother or not, right? So with this, let me, Randy, let us bid adieu to our YouTube friends. I'm gonna take off my headset here. And let's see here. Thank you to everybody who
let them know your Twitch information.
Thank you everybody for hanging out with us today. Kind of a low energy day, but we appreciate you being here, giving us your eyeballs and your ear holes. If you're on Twitch, stick around. We're gonna keep it going. Put some tunes on, do something, and continue on. We got a lot of work to do here up on our tiles down here, right? So My headset is oh, you know what? I could. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
I'll put the
can't hear
logo
you on
at Studio
Twitch.
Johnny Q on Twitch, and let's see, Randy. I will post that in chat right before we split over to the Twitch. And because I switched back to the other microphone. So yeah, too many microphone switches. So, anyways, never cowardly, never cruel, never give up, never get in. We're gonna keep it going on Twitch. Follow us on Twitch at Studio Johnny Q. All right, let me take this down and do a little swappy swappy. You're right though, Randy. I could probably have done if I change it so that the audio is on my phone, and maybe I'll work to do that if we have a problem. But so I'm gonna take it down, rename the stream, take down YouTube. We'll be right back.